$100,000 Midas Open from Gretna, Louisiana. This week's stop on the Professional Bowlers Tour. And going into the finals, the leader is Earl Anthony. And should a bowler roll a perfect game in our final match, he's going to win an additional $250,000. Then ABC's Wide World of Sports goes to the University of Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana, for special performances by Olga Korbut, Nellie Kim, Ludmila Teresheva, and Nikolai Andrianov, all Olympic gold medalists in gymnastics. From Northbrook, Illinois, you'll see men attempting to set a new world record in the World Barrel Jumping Championship, a most unusual event. Us will be in Gardena, California for the Figure 8 Stock Car Championship, as cars crisscross at a dangerous intersection twice each lap. And I'll be here throughout the day to keep you up to date on the latest breaking sports news. But right now, let's begin our day by joining Chris Schenkel in Louisiana.
Today we're near the huge bend in the mighty Mississippi where riverboats still exist. New Orleans, the Crescent City with many ancient landmarks, and of course, the new Superdome as well. All of us love to spend time on Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, more specifically to catch the huge talents of Pete Fountain and Al Hirt. Ah, yes, in the background, Pete Fountain's music. And now here in Gretna, at the Expressway lanes, these folks are awaiting the start of one of the big bowling telecasts. You know, we have a native son of New Orleans here in the audience. His name really was christened Pierre Dewey LaFontaine. He's Pete Fountain, $1 million talent, a heart of gold, and I'm proud to call him a friend of mine. I'm Chris Schenkel, and welcoming all of you to the Expressway lanes. We have a great show for you today, a tremendous field, and I think our telecasts are always enhanced by the expert commentary of a heck of a fine athlete, even greater bowler. Here he is, Nelson Burton Jr. Oh.
You're right. We have an excellent field today. In fact, we have the number 1, 2, and 3 money winners of this season in the finals today. But the big story in New Orleans is scoring. All week long, the players have been shooting fabulous scores. Our tournament leader today averaged 240 for the 42 games. There were 8 300 games bowled this week. But if they can bowl one in the last game today, they'll pick up $250,000.
How heavy would that ball be if someone had 11 in a row?
Chris, I'm not going to bowl, but you can ask our tournament leader and the man who gets to bowl against him. We had it happen last year and got real close, and I hope they can do it today.
Okay, Bo, we look forward to your commentary.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, one of our 5 bowlers has an opportunity this afternoon to receive this check for $250,000. So, let's meet our 5 tournament leaders. One of them could win it all. In the number 5 position from Las Vegas, Nevada, with 25 PBA titles, Hoosier Don Johnson. He will meet the tournament's 4th-ranked bowler from Staten Island, New York, with 5 PBA titles, Mark Roth. The winner of this first game will challenge the number 3 bowler from San Lorenzo, California, looking for his first PBA title, Cliff McNealy. The winner of this match will challenge the number 2 man in the tournament from Medford, Oregon, with 3 PBA titles, colorful Marshall Holman. And the winner of that semifinal game will bowl for the championship against the tournament leader from Tacoma, Washington, with 27 PBA titles, Earl Anthony. What a field. Stay tuned. For 16 years, bringing you competition among the finest bowlers in the world. It's the Pro Bowlers Tour. This ABC sports exclusive is brought to you by Midas and the almost 900 Midas shops coast to coast. They're specialists in mufflers and shocks. They have to do a better job. By Quaker State, America's best-selling motor oil. Quaker State motor oils and oil filters help cars last. And by Firestone, who offers customer satisfaction coast to coast wherever you see the Firestone sign. Ask a friend about Firestone.
Doctors predicted that little Jennifer Bankard would never walk. But with the help of an Easter Seals Rehabilitation Center, she proved them wrong. This year, Midas is helping Jennifer, and thousands like her. You too can help by buying a Midas muffler and cap set for $4.95 at your local Midas shop. And Midas will donate $1 to your local chapter of Easter Seals. Buy a Midas muffler and cap set and help Easter Seals. It'll make you feel warm all over. If you'd like to put your car on the same great Firestone steel-belted Radio 500s you see on these new 77s, you're going to like this. Depending on size, you can save from $32 to $60 on a set of 4, and you can charge them, too. Right now, this one's just $39.95. You can put a set of 4 on this car for less than $160. If you want Firestone's best steel-belted radio at the best price ever, then step into Firestone.
And now in our first match, Don Johnson, the number 5 bowler, will be going against Mark Roth. Remember that each competitor keeps advancing in our championship match play format as long as he keeps his winning streak alive. And there are so many incentives today, though I'm fired up for this one.
This is a big one. $250,000 in the last game for a perfect game, but a tremendous prize fund on top of a $100,000 tournament, the Midas Open.
36-year-old Don Johnson, a great champion. That was the ball he used last night and yesterday, moving from, 22nd to 5th?
One of the big charges I've ever seen on a tour, Chris, and that's what he's been famous for. Don used to really come to life at any point in the tournament and almost take over, a la Earl Anthony style, and has been missing that for the last couple of years, but last night he turned it back on at 250 average the last 8 games.
Now going cross lane for the 10 pin on the left lane. With a spare here, and if you just joined us, we're at the Expressway lanes in Gretna, Louisiana, which is about 20 minutes from the French Quarter. Oh, and I love to visit that area and listen to all that jazz.
Right on.
And Mark Roth, and look at the action of the pins.
This year's leading money winner, Mark Roth, and that is one of the reasons. Mark Roth gets the ball well out over the foul line. See the ball released out, way out, about 4 feet over the line, slight bounce, and into the spin and roll that makes his ball so devastating at the back end.
Now he will try to double and take the lead here in our very first match. There it is, the double. Oh, and I have talked about the $250,000 for the final game, should a 300 be bowled. Of course, in any of the other games, should one of our bowlers come up with 12 in a row, we will give him a check from ABC for $10,000, and the Ford Motor Company will give him a beautiful T-Bird.
Strike by Johnson, leaving the 10 pin in the first frame. I believe that the players are just going to be smacking that pocket all day. It's going to be almost a matter of carry, and the players we have today are just about as strong a field as you can possibly put together in bowling. So there should be some exciting, high-scoring matches.
Thus far on the national tour, there have been 28 perfect games thus far. None, of course, in our finals, which are televised live each week here on ABC. This year, anyway. Beautiful double by Don Johnson. Now bowling out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And now Mark Roth, who just recently, Bo, became part owner of a pro shop.
Yes, he did, in Staten Island, New York. He and a good friend of his named Bob Simonelli got together and went in the pro shop business, and smart investment.
Going for 3.
See the way he throws that ball. He knows how to drill them. Mark usually drills a new ball every week to come out on the tour. He likes the feel of a new thumb hole. Mark with the solid, powerful game we've always talked about. The push away. Notice the high backswing. The cocked wrist at the bottom of the release. And the long follow through.
All right, now with 3 in a row. Mark shooting in the 4th frame of our first game. Mark Roth. Coming up with the bucket on the left lane, 2-4-5-8.
That time he fell off balance. Mark has a tendency to run off the foul line a little too fast every once in a while, and he got off balance to the right, did not get the proper leverage. 2-4-5-8.
In itself, what you said, Bo, is a pretty good tip for a lot of bowlers.
Yes,
Don't be in a hurry.
Keep those feet slow.
Oh, chopping the 4 off at an open frame from Mark Roth. We'll be back.
Here's a better idea. Your 77 Ford dealer limited edition sale on the great-looking Ford Explorer pickup. It comes with special paints and accent stripes, color-keyed interiors, wheel covers, and more. And power steering, cruise-o-matic, and even air conditioning. Sticker priced up to $200 off on special option package. The 1977 Ford Explorer, one beautiful buy. At your 77 Ford dealer limited edition sale. It's a better idea.
From Maine to California, you sit atop a rig with 13 Ford speeds and 300 horses. And when the run is over, that's when Miller time begins. Time to stretch out and head for the best tasting beer you can find. America's quality beer, Miller High Life. If you've got the time, we've got the beer, Miller Beer.
Back again in Gretna, Louisiana, live and in color. You're looking at Don Johnson. Seated is Mark Roth, who is considered the best spare shooter in professional bowling, and he blew one in the 4th frame after stringing together 3 in a row. So now Don Johnson has a double up, has an opportunity to add to his lead in this first game. Important to win it, because the winner will then meet Cliff McNealy, then Marshall Holman, and then Earl Anthony. 3 in a row now for Don Johnson, the leader, as we go to Nelson Burton.
With me is Cliff McNealy. And Cliff, you've made the television finals 3 times, and yet you've failed to win a game yet. What's the secret, or what are you going to change to start winning?
Well, Bo, I'm just going to concentrate on my own game today. Both Don and Mark are good bowlers, and if I worry about myself and hopefully come out on top.
Well, a big game should do it for you.
And now going for 4 in a row, and to add to his lead over Mark Roth, Don Johnson. Well, the 8 did fall, leaving the 2-4-5. And, of course, it's that left lane where Mark Roth had a downfall in the 4th frame as we again replayed the hit. As you can see, it didn't come up into the 1-3 pocket. Consequently, leaving the 2-4-5.
The reason they're hitting a little light on the left lane is that it is not hooking quite as much as the right, and they probably build up their speed on the right-hand lane and have not adjusted on the left-hand lane quite enough.
Even with a beautiful follow-through, here we have the 5-pin still standing.
He shot the 2-4 off the 5, and he really went to school on Mark Roth's shot. Mark shot the 2-4-5-8 down the left side of the lane and hooked away from it. Don Johnson tried to go across lane, which we usually don't, and chopped the 2-4 off the 5. Made this match real close again.
Live in Gretna, Louisiana, 5th frame.
An unusual shot known as the swishing 4. Mark blew the 5-pin into the 4, but the head pin came off the sideboard so fast the 4-pin continued to stand. Now we see the quick pace of Mark Roth on his way to foul line. 6-step approach in the powerful turn and loft.
More like the Mark Roth that we know, as we said, one of the best and most consistent spare shooters, marking with a spare, trailing by 5 through 5 frames.
You know why Mark is such a good spare shooter, Chris? He bowls so good lately, they only get single-pin spares to shoot at.
It's a little easier than a bucket.
That's right. The pros should make those single-pin spares. 231 average for Mark this week. Fantastic.
Oh, did he crank that one up? You and Bo, you talk about the loft out on the lane with that ball.
Well, when a player catches it just right, it's like in golf. When a player hits the putt just right, he can almost walk it right into the hole. Same way with bowling. Perfect delivery by Roth. He just knew it was going to be a strike.
Standing room only crowd here at the Expressway lanes. And in that crowd, some interesting sports personalities. Tell you more about it later. Don Johnson strike for Don with the new hairdo.
Johnson, one of the most consistent players ever to bowl on the tour, has rolled a 300 game in each of the last 11 years on the tour. I mean, that's fantastic to be that consistent.
And Bo, you're the man with the most consecutive 700 series, right?
Yeah, they're a little easier to get than those 300s.
Hey, a mixing strike for Don Johnson, and we'll return to Louisiana after this.
Keep highways humming all across the land. It's the sound of America from little cars to vans.
And on the city streets, for driving the country roads, for making the way smooth and easy, America rides Monroe.
Monroe. It's the #1 shock absorber in the world. You'll feel the difference.
First in shots, the name you know, America rides Monroe. Let Muriel turn you on. That is my desire. Muriel lights a flame in me. Where there's Muriel smoke, there's fire. Where there's Muriel smoke, there's fire.
Next, ABC.
The evening goes hilariously haywire when Shirley's father comes to visit. When he disappears, the girls search for him in the brawling bars down by the docks. Cindy Williams and Penny Marshall star in Laverne and Shirley, tonight at 8:30, right here on KMED TV Medford, in the Land of the Sun.
This is Fred Jaski of Greendale, Wisconsin, averaging .230 this week. He finished 6th. He earned $3,550.
2 weeks will be near his home for the Miller High Life Open, and Rick made quite a charge last night, just missing out.
Now looking for a double Roth. And again, a 2, 4, 5, 8.
That looks like just a little lack of concentration on Mark's part. He was lackadaisical, did not put the powerful turn on it that he normally gets. All the strikes he's had so far in this match have been light hits. And if you don't get enough turn, you can leave the bucket. Let's see how he converts it this time.
Uh-oh.
One thing about Mark, he's consistent, whether he's striking or missing. And once again, he hooks right by the 2, 4, 5, 8. And Chris, we've said it before. These players do not practice many spares before they go on the finals. And Mark is really paying the penalty here.
Stuck at the line a little bit on that last release. And Bo, your tip today is on the release of the bowling ball. Coming up later. Leaving the 10.
Almost left the swishing 7-10. And that would just be another bad break in what's happened to Mark this game. You watch how the 5-pin will move over into the 4-pin and slide the 4-pin almost around the 7-pin. The 5-pin just barely taking out the 7.
Tremendous speed and covering the 10-pin in the left lane for Mark Roth. 29 pins now separating these two professionals.
Don Johnson really has the hammer in his hand. 29 pins, and he could increase it to 39 in the 8th.
Don Johnson, whose son has a birthday today, and Don told me when he talked to him, he wondered who he had to meet in the first game, and his dad told him he had to meet Mark Roth, and his son said, uh-oh.
Well, his son can relax, his son Jimmy, because Mark Roth is well in hand for Don Johnson right now.
5'11", 165 pounds. Leaving the 7.
All the hits on the left lane being a little light, but Johnson with a big lead did not want to charge the nose and give Roth an opening. Johnson with a possible 234 game. The best Mark Roth can do is 206.
Don Johnson, 25 PBA titles, tied with Dick Weber at that spot. As you see, a member of the PBA for 15 years. Spare in the 9th for Johnson.
With a strike in the 9th, still has a possible 206, but it's going to be a little late, Chris. And I really want to tell a story about Mark Roth. I had the pleasure of staying at his home this week in between the Rolaids Open and the Midas Open here. And this guy is really some fellow. He is quite a gentleman. And just for the pleasure of it, we went down and rode the New York City buses, and that was really a kick. He's sweating a little today. He's in trouble.
Who has a cashing streak of 31 straight tournaments. Great PBA record, and made the finals 4 of the 5 tournaments he's competed in.
That is some record to make the TV finals 4 out of 5. But even more impressive, Chris, is 31 consecutive tournaments. That's on all sorts of blowing conditions all around the country, all year round.
Our statistician today, a great bowler named Dave Davis.
Former Firestone winner and national champion. Shows us that Mark Roth, best he can shoot is 206.
The winner here overall today will get a check for $14,000. 8, 6, 5, and 4 down the line. So the loser here will get $4,000, and Mark Roth, bowling at 205, he will leave New Orleans area with $4,000. Don Johnson will have an opportunity to go for it all as he will next meet Cliff McNealy.
Johnson puts a nail in the coffin with that strike. Don Johnson, possible 234. We'll be back in a moment to meet Cliff McNealy.
America loves burgers.
Thank you, America.
We're America's Burger King.
Thank you, America.
America loves burgers.
To thank you for loving our burgers, we're having a Thank You, America sweepstakes. Grand prize is $50,000 plus 20 vacations for 2 in any American city that has a Burger King. Check a participating Burger King for entry blanks and details. And thank you, America.
We're America's Burger King.
Excuse me, sir. What's going to help that beautiful car last?
Quaker State Motor Oil.
If you like our motor oil, you'll love our oil filter. Hey there, what helps more cars avoid expensive engine repairs?
Quaker State.
If you like our motor oil, you'll love our oil filter. Pardon me, friend, what's America's best-selling motor oil? Quaker State. If you like our motor oil, you'll love our oil filter.
Listed here are KMED TV's television translators, which bring the best of NBC TV and ABC TV to the land of the sun, Southern Oregon and Northern California, including Happy Camp, California, home of the Bigfoot Jamboree.
Growing older, it's an unescapable fact of life, and it brings with it many problems that affect all of us at one time or another. Is there life after 65? Is an issue that will be explored by the Action News team beginning February 14th. Be with us as the Action News team takes a closer look at aging, beginning February 14th at 6 p.m. during the Action News Hour on KMED TV.
This is KMED TV, Medford.
First game has ended, and Don Johnson, a great champion, winning by 29 pins over Mark Roth, 234 to 205. And now we'll meet 24-year-old Cliff McNealy from San Lorenzo, California.
Cliff McNealy looking for his first win in the finals of ABC Sports. Ralph Weiger with the possible $250,000 that somebody can win in the final game for a 300.
It's his wife, Kay, alongside, and the very right, you'll see a little later, coach of the New Orleans Saints, Hank Stram. Now Don Johnson, bowled to 234 if you just joined us in our live coverage of the Professional Bowlers Tour. First shot, second game. Perfect. Now, there is Henry Stram. He and Ralph Weiger are both from Gary, Indiana. They were roommates at Purdue University, played, of course, on the same Boilermaker football team. So they're having a little reunion here in New Orleans.
Purdue, a school of another famous sportscaster I know named Chris Schenkel.
Yes, proud of it. Well, a little tentative, as Pancho Gonzalez would say on our tennis series.
You've got it, Chris. Cliffy is not used to the finals, televised finals, and he's a little timid starting out, and he has to charge to beat Don Johnson. Don Johnson, aggressive, experienced player, and he really wants to win.
There's no timidity on Wide World today with Olga Korbut, Nellie Kim, and all the Soviet gymnastics stars. Figure 8 stock car championship and the world barrel jumping. That follows for most of these ABC stations.
Well, with Olga Korbut and Nellie Kim, you also have some beauty.
Ah, yes. So it's a fine spare for Cliff McNealy. And he'll move over to the left side. And though week in and week out, traveling all these 16 stops, just look at the number of people that come out here and watch our live coverage.
It is really fantastic, Chris. Every week it's just about a sellout for the televised finals, and people really enjoy it. They enjoy meeting the players, and there's a close contact. Right now there's a spectator sitting only 3 or 4 feet away from Cliff McNealy, and that's really enjoyable for those spectators to watch that action that close.
Beautiful strike for Cliff, and that should ease some of the tension that is always surrounding these head-to-head live matches where the lights are bright, money is big, and it's important to all of these bowlers who travel week in and week out with great expenses to cash, and especially be in the final 5 where the money is pretty large.
Johnson had to step back off the approach, Chris. A pin fell over by itself back there, and he has to get a re-rack. So it'll be just a moment's delay. I just want to say something, Chris, that, you know, the last 300 game we had on our national telecast was at the Midas Open in 1974 by Jim Stephanie. So with any kind of luck today, history might repeat itself in 1977 for $250,000. That would be all right.
We've had 3 on our PBT telecasts over the 15 and a quarter years. And unfortunately, for some reason, I missed all 3. So I'm really anxious to get one, especially here today in the final game.
All right.
Johnson now hoping to double. Ah, yes. That coming in the second frame. Let's have a replay here now, Bo.
Notice Don Johnson, a great push away and how close his arm is to his body, shoulders level, but watch the arm veer to the right after he releases the ball. It's straight through, then the arm veers to the right. Now, that's just his natural style, but notice how the ball went straight through to his target before he followed through to the right. That's very important.
Third frame, double up, double working. Winner of the first game, 234 to 205. Still perfect in the second game. Don Johnson bowling out of Las Vegas now, and Cliff McNealy now is up as we have a $100,000 purse here for the week. In first place today, $14,000, 8, 6, 5, and 4. Mark Roth has nailed down the $4,000, having lost to Don Johnson in the first game. Smooth. Cliff McNealy. Speaking of smooth, I'd like to thank great announcer Al Michaels for joining you last week and filling in while we were watching the Blades, the figure skaters in Hartford, Connecticut.
Well, we enjoyed that show too, Chris, but Al Michaels did a super job, and I'm glad to have you back.
Thank you.
The release of Cliff McNealy. Nice, smooth rolling ball, and excellent shot, solid in the pocket. Whoops, he ran right into it. Trying to even the match up in the fourth frame.
There's that bucket again on the left lane, 2-4-5-8 for McNealy.
I wonder what's going through his mind. He watched Mark Roth leave that 2-4-5-8 and miss it everywhere he could possibly could. Don Johnson hasn't made it yet. We've had 3 buckets in the first 2 games, and nobody has converted it yet. He's taking a little extra time thinking of a strategy that he wants to make. Not to hook by it, but not to chop it.
There it is. Awesome. Awesome looking. 4 pins. Third time we've had a bucket blown here. This one by Cliff McNealy. We'll be back after this.
Lane surfaces have gotten harder since you probably got your ball. That's bad, because a hard ball on a hard lane tends to skid too far. Your ball's probably about this hard, maybe too hard. So guys and gals, you need a softer ball, like the AMF Soft Plastic Pro Classic. A ball made to skid less, roll more for more pin action. Down they go. The Pro Classic, designed for higher scores on harder lanes, only at your pro shop or bowling center.
Quality is important because if you invest your money once, then you don't have to keep reinvesting.
Ask a friend about Firestone, Firestone, Firestone.
That's what I would do. I would ask a friend about Firestone. If somebody came to us and said, you know, what tire have you had good experience with, Firestone would be what we'd say.
Firestone.
There he is, a native of the French Quarter. And oh, how people the world over have enjoyed his artistry on the clarinet, Pete Fountain. Each year he joins us here on our telecast. He knows many of the professional bowlers, appreciates their skills. And here is a very skillful Don Johnson leading by 26. 3 in a row, shooting in the 4th frame. Oh, you 7-pin. He is down on one knee at the line, hoping. But now he'll have to settle for a spare. Well, watch how he shoots this 7-pin on the right lane. Nelson mentioned earlier, PBA record most consecutive years with 300 games, 11. Almost the center of the approach. Beautiful. Okay, Bo.
With me, Marshall Holman. Marshall, you throw the powerful ball like Cliff McNealy and Don Johnson, and they're all having trouble with spares. Do all crankers or big hook ball bowlers have that much trouble with the spares?
Bo, I don't really think so. I'm really quite surprised with the problem with making the bucket today. I don't believe I'll be having to shoot any buckets. I'm not planning on leaving any. But it does surprise me.
All right, if you don't leave any, you'll probably win then, partner. Take care.
Young man with confidence who told me he figured there'd be a 300 today. Okay, Don Johnson. Right back in the striking ways. That one coming in the fifth frame. And now Cliff McNealy. He's big, tall, and lanky, 6'3", 170 pounds. About the same size as our statistician, Dave Davis. 25 pins down, McNealy. Beautiful strike, and let's get a profile replay of Cliff.
Cliff McNealy, 6'3", but notice how low he gets. A good solid push away, low at the line, and rolls the ball right at the foul line. He says he just does that naturally, and he doesn't try to loft the ball way out like a Don Johnson or someone else. He tries to stick with his natural game. Excellent follow-through.
Notice how carefully he sets himself in the approach. The grip. Later, Nelson with a consolidated cigar tip on the release of the bowling ball. Ah, yes. Tightening things up now here in our second game. The winner will go against Marshall Holman, from whom you heard just a few moments ago. But now it's Johnson back up.
The Kokomo Kid, Don Johnson. And the reason he got that nickname is he was born in Kokomo, Indiana, Chris.
That's right. Had sort of a shaky start in life, but you know what he attributes getting him on the right track when he was a youngster? Bowling.
Well,
sports writer in that town started in bowling. This is a true story, and he's very proud of it, and of course we're all proud of him.
Well, he's won 25 PBA titles, tied with all-time great Dick Weber, and of course led the parade by our tournament leader this week, Earl Anthony. Will be going for 28th pro title. Kokomo Kid uses all the approach, and one of the reasons all these guys are using the long approach today is to get some ball speed. You have to throw hard today to keep it from hooking too much.
Solid 10 on the right.
Once again, the ringing 10. Don Johnson with that powerful turn, and notice that loft. The reason he uses the loft, Chris, is to delay the break. The further you loft the ball out in the lane, the later you can break it, and the later you break it, the better you carry the pins.
Really cross lane now for the 10. All right. 15 tens separating Don Johnson and Cliff McNealy, and this is the second game toward the $14,000 first prize and a possibility of a $250,000 bonus to a bowler who can bowl a perfect game in the final match coming up. The leader is Earl Anthony. Working on a spare. So here at Expressway Lanes, we're going to take a break to hear and watch this.
Here's a better idea. Your 77 Ford dealer limited edition sale with great value like this new 77 limited edition Maverick. Up to $227 off sticker price when equipped with two-tone paint treatment, body side moldings, unique wheel covers, vinyl roof, and luxurious flight bench seat. That's $227 off on this special limited edition Maverick. Buy or lease now at your 77 Ford dealer limited edition sale. It's a better idea.
Oh, are you sure these are the right shock absorbers, Eugene?
Hey, Mrs. Austin, you got the shocks that conquered Mount Kilimanjaro. Only shocks we carry. Hey, I use them on my own car.
If you say so, Eugene. It's like going downhill.
You can get shocks anywhere. But at Midas, you get a shock specialist. So you get the right shock for your car and the way you drive. Come to Midas. We're shock specialists. We have to do a better job.
Tomorrow, the American Sportsman presents actor William Shatner in a pre-dawn confrontation with a leopard, and Kurt Gowdy duck hunting in Wyoming with Jack and Mariel Hemingway. Then Howard Cosell and George Foreman cover live the second quarterfinals of the United States Boxing Championships. ABC's Wide World of Sports features the Winter National Drag Racing Championships, the Women's Masters Surfing Championship, and the World Speed Skiing Championship tomorrow on ABC.
And we're live in New Orleans, a live shot of a $250,000 check that could go to a bowler that shoots a perfect game in our final match today on our telecast from Gretna, Louisiana. Right now we're in the second game, the winner to meet Marshall Holman, and then that winner to meet Earl Anthony. But look at the tape on the heel.
You know, Cliff McNealy's from the old school. Many of the old players used to carry tape around on their heels so they could put it in their thumb hole or finger hole whenever those holes get too loose. And sometimes during competition, Chris, your hand will swell, but sometimes it'll go down, and Cliff McNealy is prepared.
Hey!
And that's the first emotion he's showing in 3 times on our telecast. Cliffy got a break, got the wall shot, and closed the gap to 5 pins with Don Johnson.
We know he has plenty of emotion because he lists his 2 hobbies as music and horse racing. In fact, he hopes to win a tournament so he can buy a thoroughbred.
1974 Sporting News Rookie of the Year, Cliffy McNealy, can take the lead in this 8th frame, trailing by 5.
Here in the Carnival City, they have horse racing going on right now. And 2 of the big contributors to the sport of thoroughbred are Pete Fountain and Al Hurt. They love the races.
Right on.
coming up a little high.
The 4-9, Cliff McNealy worrying about the bucket. The 2-4-5 may have psyched him out. Moved a little too far right on the approach, the adjustment, and left at 4-9. Odds 7-2. That's for a pro. He should make it 2 times out of every 7. And I don't think anybody's made it this year, so maybe we're due for it.
Okay. That's how it should be shot. Here's the grip, McNealy. Nope. Open frame for McNealy now, and Johnson is back up, ready to bowl. There you see the expanse of the Expressway lanes. Series of lanes of 20 on this side, and directly behind us another 20. And in the younger days, Kokomo, Don Johnson.
The Kokomo kid. He's just as tough today as he was then, though. Look at that.
Strike up. Leaving the 4-7 here on the right lane.
Before the show, I talked to Don Johnson, asked him why he lofted the ball so far over the foul line.
Well, starting yesterday, I was in 22nd place, and I was going nowhere, so I just went back to some of the basic principles that I teach in Las Vegas of getting my right knee down. And I really concentrated on getting the right knee into the shot, and all of a sudden, my strike ball came back.
4-7 now, Johnson. Whoops. Okay. That was a spare for Don in the 8th, leading now by 19 pins. And if you just joined us, he defeated Mark Roth in the first game, 234 to 205.
Don Johnson coming up in the 9th frame, working at a 219 pace, but Cliff McNealy can still strike out for 220, can go right down to the 10th.
All this from the Carnival City of New Orleans, Louisiana. And the Mardi Gras only a week or so away. Really accepting the pressure here today. Don Johnson, which he has done so often.
Cliff McNealy coming up in the 9th. If he wants to break his losing streak in the televised finals, he has to start striking. The key 9th frame, trailing by 19, he still can shoot 220.
The key 9th.
Well, because if he doesn't strike in the 9th, he can't set up that big 10th frame. The strike in the 9th frame is always the pressure strike, can put the pressure on the other opponent.
I'm sure that answered some of our viewers' question. Leaving the 4 on the right lane.
Just babying the ball a little bit, Chris. You have to keep what we say amped up. You cannot get lazy and let that ball just roll too high and hook too hard. Now, the reason we said these fellows are using longer approaches today is to get the speed on the ball. Cliff McNealy is not using that speed. Now, he's tall enough that he doesn't have to use the whole approach like Don Johnson or Marshall Holman, but he must maintain that speed to hold the pocket.
And the winner of this head-to-head match will meet Marshall Holman. You can't wait. He's really anxious to get out there, and I think you'll like his colorful style. You've seen him before in our telecasts because he's been successful here in 1977. Now, 10th frame for McNealy.
Cliff McNealy must throw 2 strikes in the 10th to even have a chance to win. Don Johnson can win with even an open frame if Cliff does not get 2 strikes.
Coming up high, leaving the 310.
Cliff has just not been able to put it together today. He's a little high, a little light, and not make the adjustments. And the key to bowling well on the Pro Tour, whether it's on the televised finals or during the whole week, is to maintain your concentration and keep a steady pace.
Is that one of the keys to Earl Anthony's success on the tour, that concentration?
Excellent concentration, tremendous confidence, and, of course, a great God-given bowling talent.
Okay. Taking out the 3, leaving the 10, and it's a 187 for 24-year-old Cliff McNealy. Don Johnson He is the winner, winning 2 in a row here in our live telecast. He'll meet Marshall Holman next. Won 2 games, 234 in the first over Mark Roth's 205. Now a 236 to Cliff McNealy's 187. So now as he averages 235, he goes in against Marshall Holman of Medford, Oregon. And this should be some match in anticipation of the winner meeting the tournament leader, Earl Anthony.
2 tough players here. Marshall Holman, he doesn't want anybody to beat him. And Don Johnson has proven that not many players can beat him. This should be quite a semifinal match.
And the approaches will be used to their fullest by both.
Marshall Holman in the interview, Chris, says he doesn't want to leave any buckets. What's he start off with? The 2-8. Let's see if it psyched him out.
He gave us a quick glance after that release.
He could have left the 2-4, 5-8. Has been left previously on the lane, but he knocks out the 4 and 5. But the 2-8 is just about as difficult. The only thing he doesn't have to worry about is chop, but he has to carry that double wood spare.
And he made sure. Wow. Almost through the back of the house. Now he gives us a little smile. He is really some young man.
Yes, sir. Here's a man going for his 26th title. Kokomo Kid.
Beauty. Don Johnson returns from the line faster than any of the professional bowlers on tour. He can't wait to get back.
Only when he's striking. When he leaves a split, he doesn't come back too fast. The big loft and spin. You can actually see that ball spinning out of his hand onto the lane. The spin being held till very end. Now watch the sharp break. There's where the loft comes in, and that spin carries out those pins. This is the key lane for Kokomo. He's talking to himself. You can watch his lips move. See him? He's trying to remind himself of the things he has to do on this shot.
Double. 10 more, and ABC will give him 10,000, and the Ford Motor Company will give him a T-Bird. The next match, though, is the one that you want to bowl a 300 game. $250,000, should that happen. So don't go away. It could.
Watch the powerful approach and release of Marshall Holman.
Let's get a profile replay of 22-year-old Marshall Holman.
5'9", 140 pounds. He uses all the approach to build up that ball speed that's so necessary for today's bowling. Notice how quickly he gets the line, the long follow-through and extension, and powerful release. The wrist and fingers breaking right through the ball.
Next week, the Kingley Open in Overland Park, Kansas. Then the $100,000 Miller Open in Milwaukee 2 weeks from today.
The lane has given everyone trouble. Don Johnson missed it 2 or 3 times the first match, but he has mastered it pretty well and easily walked over Cliff McNealy. Now his next opponent, Marshall Holman, once again having trouble with the left lane.
I mentioned next week in Overland Park, the $75,000 King Louis Open. Our airtime will be 3 Eastern Time, just a half hour earlier. That's because of the third round coverage, one of the reasons, of the Glenn Campbell Los Angeles Open, and I'm going out there to get another guitar lesson from Glenn.
And watch those bowlers, golfers bask in the sun. I always enjoy that golf, Chris. That's, in fact, that's a bowler's favorite pastime out here on the tour.
And Don is still perfect here in his third match, the semifinal. 3 frames, 3 strikes. Oh, I know you played here in New Orleans this week. What'd you shoot?
I averaged 210 on the ball lanes and shot 83 on the golf course, Chris. So I was pretty well satisfied with both of them. But right now out here, the ball lanes are so hot. These guys are shooting so well. Don Johnson going at 235 pace. My 210 wouldn't do much good against that.
It's always next week.
You got it.
Perfect here in the semifinal game. We'll be back after this.
America loves burgers.
Thank you, America.
We're America's Burger King.
Thank you, America.
America loves burgers.
To thank you for loving our burgers, we're having a Thank You, America sweepstakes. Grand prize is $50,000 plus 20 vacations for two in any American city that has a Burger King. Check a participating Burger King for entry blanks and details. And thank you, America.
We're America's Burger King.
Hi. Is that the bill for my muffler job?
Jimmy, get Mr. Miller here a cup of coffee and a roll.
No, it's not going to cost more than you said.
Relax. Not all that bad.
At Midas, we don't have anything to hide. We give you this free written estimate to show you exactly what parts you need and exactly what it'll cost before we ever lift a wrench. And you'll never pay 1 penny more for the finished job. You can trust Midas. We're specialists. We have to do a better job.
Because we're running a little behind, we bowled through Marshall Holman in the 4th with a strike, Marshall Holman in the 5th with a strike, and there's Don Johnson's previous strike before we went to commercial, and look at his reaction. He has 4 in a row, now in the 5th frame. Yeah! 5-7 to go. This is the semifinal game and not the final. But there's still $10,000 and a Thunderbird at stake in this game. And more important is the fact that the winner will go into the finals against Earl Anthony for the big, big money. 30 pins. Johnson in the lead. 6th frame. Go to Nelson Burton.
Which me is the current king of bowling. The man who started with 6 in a row for the $250,000 last year. And Earl, the reins look like they're in good shape. I think you have a go at it this year. What do you think?
Well, Bo, what I'm going to try to do first of all is win the tournament. If I get out of the gate with a bunch of strikes, then I'll start thinking about it if I've got the guy behind far enough. But right away, first thing I'm going to think of is winning the tournament.
All right, Earl, and let's see what Holman can do.
All right, he's got a double working for him. Into that pocket, and another powerful strike for the 22-year-old from Medford, Oregon, who averaged 231 this week. With 3 in a row now, he'll be shooting in the 7th frame, 30 pins down against Don Johnson, who has 6 in a row.
You know something Earl Anthony told me just before we did that interview? He says this Marshall Holman is a tough, tough kid. No matter how many strikes Johnson throws against him, he'll still be in there trying.
Leaving a 10-pin on the left lane. Marshall Holman, 2nd in the Light Classic, 2nd in the Ford Open, 12th in the Showboat, 4th in the Quaker State, 20th in last week's Rolaids Open.
Fabulous record for such a young man. Cross lane for the 10-pin.
A spare coming in the 7th frame for Marshall Holman. Don Johnson calling attention of probably a bad rack, he thought, to our tournament director, Harry Golden.
Don Johnson, Chris, has always had a good strike ball, and he's really got it going today. But the key is he's hitting the left-hand lane. The right-hand lane, right now he's questioning the rack, but the right-hand lane has been the lane he's hit so well. He's struck on it almost every shot since the start of the finals today. If he can get by the left-hand lane consistently, I think he'll have a real run at that 300 game on this shot.
Gets the re-rack. Bo, you remember when he bowled at 299 in the finals of the 1970 Firestone Tournament of Champions.
Leaving a solid 10 on the last ball. It really disappointed. One of the classic pictures is his reaction afterwards.
Down the 7th frame. 6 in a row. Leaving the 4-7.
Just gritting his teeth, and he just got out of time, Chris. Running up there a little too fast to the foul line and just pulled the ball. He almost knew it when he got it. I watched him start tightening up right here. You can almost see the emotion on his face. See him tighten up and just really pull through a little too hard at the bottom. And too much arm veer, too much hook, and 4-7. What a reaction.
But continuing to mark. Coming in the 7th frame, leading by 29. And remember, the winner will meet the tournament leader, Earl Anthony for the $14,000 first prize.
Rick Jaskey, Wayne Zahn, national champion. Jim Frazier won his first tournament last year in the finals. Ed Ressler Jr., Lincoln Mercury champ. Greg Gerton bowling well. And Rick McNealy once again in the top 24. Okay,
back in the striking groove again. This one on the left lane. And the pressure on Marshall Holman.
Hector Valenzuela up there. Mickey Heim will be home for the King Louis Open next week in Kansas City. Joe Hutchinson, Tommy Hudson, who was the Rolaids leader last week. Powerful. Dennis Suarez, Sam Flanagan, national champion Les Schisler, former U.S. Open champion Les Schisler, Lee Taylor, Jim Plessinger rounding out the field.
8th frame. The 7 on the right lane.
You know, when we came up with the top 24, Chris, in the number 18 position, you saw Tommy Hudson, and there was not a parity in his money winnings. And the reason was is he was the alternate and had to go in for Don Bell and replace him after 26 games of the tournament. And he worked himself up from 24th to 18th, and they split the money. Don Bell and Tommy Hudson.
Marshall Holman with a Panther-like approach, staying low and just attacking the line and the pins. Now 30-pin difference. This man sees what we're saying. He trails Don Johnson, and he'll be now shooting in the 9th frame.
He knows he's in trouble. He must strike out to have a chance to win. A possible 238 for Marshall Holman. Don Johnson working at a 248 pace right now. It's difficult lane.
Okay, striking in the 9th for Marshall Holman.
He's still on the hunt. Don Johnson's job is to mark in the 9th and 10th and shut out Marshall Holman. If he gives him an opening, Holman can get up in the 10th and still strike out and bring out a victory.
Watching with all of you, a great Hall of Fame football player, the Green Bay Packers, whose home is right here, Jim Taylor. Don Johnson striking, only one spare, and this is his 3rd match, averaging 235 coming in. That strike was in the 9th, leading by 40 now.
Kokomo's got the match well locked up. And you know, Chris, we've had a lot of celebrities out here, and Jim Taylor, I checked him out, and he's really in good shape. You know, he's on ABC Superstars and did a great job in the veterans group, and he's really training. Kokomo with a possible 278.
Leaving the 610 on the left lane, Don Johnson. And, of course, Wide World follows over most of these stations, and coverage from the University of Notre Dame. We will see the Soviet Union gymnastic team, led, of course, by Olga Korbut and Nellie Kim, the figure 8 stock car championships from Gardena, California, and the barrel jumping championship of the world, Northbrook, Illinois. An open frame as we, nevertheless, have a winner. Don Johnson with a 246. Keeps getting stronger as he has just won his 3rd game, and now he will meet Earl Anthony in the final for $14,000 at a possible $250,000.
Roses are red, violets are blue. Light beer from Miller, I love you. You got a 1/3 less calories than the regular beer, and really are less filling, which is something to cheer. But what I like above all the rest is the way you taste. You are the best. Yes, blue is the violet and red is the rose. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to break your nose.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer and less.
Hello, everybody. This is Lowell Thomas, Alaska. A tough place to test car batteries, and that's why we took Motorcraft heavy-duty batteries to Alaska, testing them in 50 GM, Chrysler, and Ford cars and trucks. After 6 punishing months of Alaskan pipeline country, from cruel sub-zero winter to 90 degrees of summer, not one single battery failed. No matter what you drive, wherever you drive, ask for Motorcraft batteries from Ford. Tested tough in Alaska. So long.
Uncle Don's Mobile City is the #1 mobile home distributor in the entire Pacific Northwest. But we're also in the recreational vehicle business, and we have every intention of being #1 there too. And here's how we plan to do it. Buy any RV in stock today and make no payments until May. That's right, buy any travel trailer, motorhome, or fifth-wheeler today and make no payments until May. A great selection. Financing is never a problem at Uncle Don's Mobile City, where together we can make it happen.
Together we can make
Swems present another exclusive Oriental rug sale Monday, February 14th at Medford's Red Lion Inn. The exhibit and special sale begins at noon with savings up to 30% for those who will be unable to attend the evening auction. The auction will begin at 7:30 with all remaining stock to be sold. A select group of over 200 rugs from Swems Importers Warehouse in one spectacular display. And a genuine handmade Oriental rug will be given away. Remember, Monday, February 14th at the Red Lion, Swems Special Oriental Rug Sale and Exhibit.
This is KMED TV, Medford.
Frank Gifford back in our studios in New York, keeping you abreast of what's going on around the country today. And NBA Commissioner Larry O'Brien was today given a new 7-year contract for a reported $2 million by the NBA Board of Governors. His previous contract had a year and a half to run, but his role in bringing peace to pro basketball certainly had to influence the Board of Governors and brought about O'Brien's new deal. The Board of Governors also approved the purchase of the Atlanta Hawks by the flamboyant millionaire Chet Turner. Commissioner O'Brien acknowledged that Turner's recent 1-year suspension from baseball was reviewed, but it did not enter into the board's final decision. College basketball, a couple of finals, Maryland over Clemson, 84-78. 11th-ranked Cincinnati has beaten Georgia Tech 84-73. Pro bowling in Louisiana, let's go there now with Chris Schenkel. Here in Louisiana, where the temperature is about 70 degrees, Don Johnson, our great professional bowler, is really hot. He bowled at 244 to Marshall Holman's 227. He's averaging now 237, and there you see the flight board. And he has stepped his way up to the very top. At least now he will go against the tournament leader, Earl Anthony. 27 PBA titles, Don Johnson with 25. You couldn't have a better matchup here. And you couldn't have a better instructor in bowling than Nelson Burton Jr. And today his consolidated cigar bowling tip is on the very release of the bowling ball. So let's join Nelson now for the tip.
Dutch Masters cigars. There really are masters at Dutch Masters. Presents the bowling tip of the week. I'm kneeling in the most important area of the bowling game, the foul line. Our tip today is on the release, and we're going to analyze the pro bowler's explosion point. With proper timing and coordination in your approach, you will get the power at the foul line, lifting the ball over the line and getting the power on the pins. Now let's take a look at a pro bowler's release in slow motion. You notice the thumb comes out first, then the lift is imparted with the fingers and the wrist breaking through the ball. This is how you get more roll and spin on the ball to get those extra strikes.
In the tropics, where we blend Dutch Master cigars, our master blender, Augusto Santiago, meets the tobacco personally. Before he accepts, he tastes it 3 times. First with his nose, then with his touch. Then he wraps the leaf around the cigar and tastes it with his taste. That's why our new Cameroon cigars taste so rich. They really are masters at Dutch Masters.
And now we're very close to a most unique final match in our 16 years of covering the Professional Bowlers Tour. The tournament leader, Earl Anthony, will now meet Don Johnson, who has won 3 games in a row. $14,000 to the winner, but there is always that possibility of one of the two bowling a perfect 300 game. Should that be the case, Ralph Weiger, president of Midas, you see him there with his wife, Kay. That check for $250,000 will go to the bowler of the perfect game. Plus, of course, the $14,000 winner's share, $10,000 from ABC, and from Ford, a Thunderbird. A big, big match. You remember in the last semifinal match, this man opened with 6 in a row. He keeps talking. Very good. You know, on spares, Nelson will occasionally on splits give you the odds of a professional making him. Now, the odds for an average league bowler to throw a 300 game is 420,000 to 1. Now, that goes down as far as professionals are concerned. According to the PBA, the odds are 6,000 to 1 for a pro to throw one during a tournament. Now, the odds for one to be thrown during this match you're looking at right now, televised finals, is 850 to 1. Earl Anthony. Well, they're both perfect after one frame. Here we go.
I'd like to see that number 1 come up, Chris. The super style of Earl Anthony, the short backswing, slightly bent elbow. Notice how level the shoulders, solid the head, the loft over the line. This man can do it all, just so relaxed. He would like to win that $250,000 more than anything. There's nothing left for him to do in bowling except do that right now.
I thought I saw his lips move. We have two bowlers that talk to themselves. Well, if that's one of the ingredients of success, try it. Leading to 6.
Earl knew it when he let go of it, Chris. That was a bad shot. He very seldom does that, but Earl just babied the ball at the line. Now watch that as he comes through. You'll watch his hand go over the top of the ball slightly and pull inside of his target line. See the inconsistent follow through. Earl was hoping for it to be a strike, but he knew when he let go he threw a bad shot. Now he's showing a little disgust.
So now, with tongue-in-cheek, we say the best Earl can do today is earn $14,000. But here's Don, who's still alive. After one frame, that is.
Don Johnson, 25 PBA titles. Earl Anthony, the leader, with 27. Kokomo kid with a win this tournament could close that gap to just one title again.
Mm-hmm. Still a chance with $250,000. Don Johnson. Next week, Overland Park, then the Miller Open in Milwaukee 2 weeks from today. 3 weeks from today, the Monroe Manic Open in Windsor Locks, Connecticut. Then the AMF Pro Classic in Garden City, New York. Telecast on March 12th.
Powerful strike by Johnson. Get down on the knees. Driving out that 7. He left a solid 10 when he bowled a 299 at the Firestone. And he has 10 more strikes to go.
In the last match, he defeated the current Firestone Tournament of Champion winner, Marshall Holman. Oh, the 9.
Well, he breaks down to 4-9, and there goes the possibility of $250,000.
Ralph Weiger, president of Midas.
Kokomo kid, giving him a little breathing room. He's got a $250,000 check in his hand. He can put it away now.
Hank Strand with a big smile on that suntanned face. I imagine the insurance company is smiling, too.
No insurance. That was all Ralph Weiger's bankroll he had in his hand.
No wonder he can wear an ultra-suede sport jacket. All right, it's a spare. Let's go back now and take a look at that stroke by Don Johnson.
Just the ball snapping through a little too hard. He tries to trip the 4-pin into the 9, but if it'll fall to the right a little bit, instead of forward, he had a chance. Kokomo kid. Now it's all down for the title.
There's the Earl Anthony, 6'1" professional who averaged 240 this week. That strike coming in the 3rd frame.
Also, Chris, he shattered the 18-game qualifying record by averaging over 250 for the first 18 games, and the record he beat was by Don Johnson, who previously held it. He set it in South Bend, Indiana in 1971. So the two qualifying record holders bowling for the title of the Midas Open.
Okay, there you see the positioning of the ball. Strike up. Ooh.
4-6. Once again, the left-hand lane. Johnson, the only one to conquer it today. All 4 of his opponents have had trouble over there. Right now, Earl Anthony is in real trouble. Ball breaking too sharply, leaving the 4-6, cutting right through the heart. He'll just go for 1 pin here. No possibility, really, of making it without a lucky break and kicking it out of the back.
The bowler of the year, the last 3 years in a row, and the top money leader the last 3 years in a row. Earl Anthony with an open frame here in the final match. We'll return after this.
I need a muffler bag. I know. You do it. I'll order it. I'll see you. Hey, Let's talk training.
Let's talk muffler.
Oh, let's talk next week.
Midas built a business for people who can't wait. So you're usually in and out in 30 minutes without an appointment.
You sure work fast. Work fast.
Come to Midas. We're specialists. We have to do a better job.
You punch in your name, you're ready to bowl. Punch in your name and let 'em roll. No papers and pencils, no more, no more. With AMF Magic Score, it tells you when to bowl and where. Lights up when you make that spare. No adding up numbers, no more, no more. With AMF Magic Score, so bring the whole family in. They'll have a ball just knocking down pins. Never bowl without it, no more, no more. Bowling's more fun with Magic Score. You knock 'em down, Magic Score adds 'em up. Magic Score from AMF.
Tour moves to Overland Park, Kansas, where George Pappas will defend his title of the $75,000 King Louis Open. Join us next Saturday at 3 Eastern, 2 Central, 4 Pacific time over most of these ABC stations. Remember, that's 3 Eastern, 2 Central, and 4 Pacific. All but the 10 pin for Don Johnson. If you just join us, he has won 3 games in a row, coming from the number 5 position to go against the tournament leader.
Two of the biggest winners ever in the game of bowling going head-to-head for the Midas Open Championship.
Don with a 20-pin lead. Lots of perspiration, lots of pressure. Cross lane now for the 10. All right.
Don Johnson, who really wants to win, Chris, almost worse than I've ever seen him win. It's been a while since he's been in the winner's circle, over 2 years, or going on his second year, and he was really determined. Just believe at this time yesterday, he was in 22nd place. And the reason he went into a slump, it's been a while since he's won. He had a sore wrist like Mark Roth used to have, and now he says it's strong and he's ready to go.
Big strike for Don Johnson here in our final head-to-head match for the $14,000 first prize. Leading by 20. Got that strike in the 5th, and now Earl Anthony will be shooting in the 5th at an open frame.
Earl, he used to be a pitcher for the Baltimore Orioles in a minor league organization before he turned to bowling. Has made a lot of bowlers wish he could pitch baseball a little better and gone on to the major leagues instead of whipping up on us out here.
110,000 plus last year. Like that. This looks so easy, so firm in everything he does.
Before the telecast today, Chris, I asked Earl why he's so successful and the other left-handers on the tour have been struggling.
I think the biggest problem most of the left-handers has, you can't cross too many boards in the first 16 feet. You can't belly the ball in what we call the head area. If you do, it's harder to hit the pocket and carry well. I try not to do that, and I think that's their biggest problem, is they do just too much of that.
What he means by bellying the ball is that's giving it too much room. That's the jargon for too much hook on a pro bowler's tour.
And the professional who's won over $22,000 already this year with a big strike as we look front back.
Okay, the key thing to watch in Earl Anthony is the short swing, but notice the level shoulders and steady head, low profile. Okay, shoulder level on the backswing. Excellent form. Straight by his right foot. Solid follow through. Down at the line. Perfect shot. He knows it when he lets go of it. Almost routine for Earl Anthony.
Pin on the right lane for Don Johnson.
A ringing 10. Kokomo Kid had what we call the weak 10 on the right lane before he had lost the ball, but he caught it all that time and just left a solid wrap. The old saying is when one round object hits another round object, they don't always react the same. That's why you don't get a strike every time you throw it perfect.
This is the man that defeated Cliff McNealy, defeated Marshall Holman, he defeated Mark Roth. That's a spare for Johnson in the 6th frame. And now, leading by 10. And remember, Anthony, who is seated, when he shoots in the 7th, will have a double going for him. 14 to the winner, 8,000 to the loser.
The concentration of Don Johnson. Probably watch his lips move again, once again, reminding himself of what he has to do. There he goes. Keep his arm close to his body.
Leaving the 2 and 5.
Once again, the left lane. Johnson had mastered it for 3 games, defeating all 3 of his opponents. But now in the key final match, leading by 8, he has lost the left lane. The last 3 frames has struggled.
Our thanks go to the PBA and its executive director, Joanna Nora, and to Sam Blanda and the Expressway lanes here in Gretna for their cooperation. Prize money is furnished by Midas and the PBA. Spare for Don Johnson.
He makes the spare. There was a downfall of his opponents. The combination of the bucket, the 2-5 combination. Earl coming up with a chance to take the lead.
All right, 8 pins separating these 2 professionals in our final match. Bowling for $22,000. All but the 10.
Earl doesn't look like he's into it today, Chris, and I tell you can't go to slow pace against Don Johnson. He's having trouble on the right-hand lane now, and he had hit that so well. I guess his timing just might be a little off.
Smooth delivery to cover the 10 pin on the right lane for Earl Anthony. Now 9 pins separating these 2 bowlers.
Earl is second to Mark Roth in the money leadings so far this year, but whether he finishes first or second, he'll take over that lead again.
And for Don Johnson, who has 3,600 earned this year, a victory could bring him up in the top 5. Still talking. Beautiful.
You know, Chris, you get a feeling about some matches, and these 2 players are both experienced, proven winners. They've won 52 PBA titles between them, and I think it's going to go right to the 9th and 10th frame. Nobody's going to put anybody away. It's within a half a mark. Once again, Johnson disturbed, showing his experience. He backs off the approach, nothing to bother his concentration. In the 8th frame, cannot afford any mistakes at all against a man like Earl Anthony.
What do you do now? Start all over?
Yeah, start that mental approach he's doing. He's talking to himself. Now watch, he'll start it all over. Keeps his eyes on his target. Once he sets his eyes, he never moves. Steady head.
Very good. Shows all of us how it should be done with a strike in the 8th. A 9-pin lead for Johnson.
This 9th frame coming up is probably the most important 9th frame that Don Johnson has rolled in the last 2 years. He hasn't won. He can put Earl Anthony really on the ropes by catching a double in the 9th. Strike work.
Also watching here in our audience today, a great pro basketball coach for many, many years, Butch Van Britakoff. Earl has a strike working for him as he gets ready to shoot in the 9th frame. Pete Fountain watching there to the right of Earl.
You say why it's such a key 9th frame. It's key for Earl right now because if he does not strike, he will have a lot of trouble winning this match. He can still put the pressure on Don Johnson. Earl strike in the 9th, 10th, and 11th can make Johnson get 2 strikes to win.
All this for $22,000, split 14 to the winner, 8 to the loser. Flashing 10th frame as you look at our sheet here. 9 pins separating these 2 champions. In other words, right here in the final stages, there's a difference of 6,000.
The first time Earl Anthony has had to take a chance to take the lead in this match. He's trailing by 9, a strike in the 10th will put him 1 pin ahead.
But we all saw that is a big strike and a 1-pin lead for Earl Anthony.
Situation is this. Earl can really put the pressure on the Kokomo kid with a strike here. If he doesn't strike, we have a possibility of a tie and a sudden death roll-off. Kokomo not looking. Earl Anthony must concentrate on his target. Once again, the 4-6 that was the downfall of Earl Anthony in the fourth frame has really left him holding the bag right now. He has a possible 214 if he just gets one of them. Now, John Johnson's job is to get up and get 9 spare strike if Earl can convert one of these pins.
Earl carefully checking the score sheet. Covering the 9. His second open frame of this match, and it gives him a 214, and it gives Don Johnson a 2-pin lead.
Don Johnson with a strike will be the 1977 Midas Open champion. If he gets 9 spare strike, he can be the champion. If he gets any less than that, he'll either be the loser or we'll go into sudden death. Showing more emotion on that shot than I've ever seen him throw. He was determined, gritted his teeth, and he is the new Midas Open champion.
And $14,000 richer coming into this match had earned $3,600 thus far this year. Quite a birthday present for his son Jimmy, who was 8 today. Okay, we have a winner. Anthony's bowled a 214, and we'll give you Don's final score after this.
Even when you leave your car at home, it doesn't mean you leave Firestone at home, because you'll find Firestone just about everywhere people are going places. On the Bay Area Rapid Transit in San Francisco, people are riding on Firestone's Air Ride Springs, which give a smooth, soft ride. Firestone's help bumper for buses to help absorb energy in case of impact. And inside, the vinyl upholstery and contoured foam cushioning. The newest high-speed Amtrak trains have Firestone marshmallow springs to cushion your ride and reduce sway. At airports, people are moving in computer-controlled cars on puncture-proof urethane-filled Firestone tires. From quality radial tires to the newest forms of transportation, we believe as long as Firestone keeps thinking about people, people will keep thinking about Firestone.
Oscar winner Walter Matthau and George Burns in his Academy Award-winning performance star as a vaudeville team coaxed out of retirement for one final performance in The Sunshine Boys on the NBC Monday Night at the Movies, right here at 9 o'clock on KMED-TV Medford in the Land of the Sun.
Frank Effort back in our studios in New York. We have some more basketball finals for you. Holy Cross, led by Ron Perry's 29 points, beat Boston College 112-92. And out west, Kansas State remains in contention for the Big 8 title. They beat Kansas 86-83, and Notre Dame beat South Carolina 84-66. One other final just in, 7th-ranked Marquette has beaten Manhattan 86-60. And in pro skiing, Switzerland, Joseph Mancober won the giant slalom by 0.02 of a second for his second win on the circuit. Countryman Joseph Odermatt was second, and it should be noted that the tour leader Henri Dubiard of France did not compete in the finals. Today is pro competition taking place in Collingwood, Ontario. Let's go back now to Chris Schenkel.
4 matches won by Don Johnson, 236 in the last to Earl Anthony's 214. Coming all the way from last, as Steve Neff did last week. Congratulations, Kokomo.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. My boy's birthday was today. He's 8 years old. I think this is the greatest present I could ever give him. And I would like to say this, that Earl led this thing all week, and he's supposed to win it. But when you beat him, you're supposed to get 2 PBA titles.
I want you to say hello to another Hoosier, Ralph Weiger, president of Midas, who has a check. Ralph?
Thank you, Chris.
Don, on behalf of the 900 Midas dealers, we want to congratulate you. We're sorry we couldn't have given you $250,000, but here's $14,000 and a beautiful trophy showing a Midas muffler to keep your car quiet. Thank you much.
Thank you very much. All I can say is Midas makes the best mufflers in the whole world. Okay.
And if you go back northern Indiana, you'll need that muffler, believe me.
Thank you.
Congratulations again, Don.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ralph. Once again, the final score in our final match was 236 to 214. Our next stop on the Pro Bowlers Tour is Overland Park, Kansas, and ABC Sports will be bringing you the final rounds of another great PBA tournament, the $75,000 King Louis Open, 1 week from today at 3 Eastern, 2 Central, and 4 Pacific time. The executive producer of ABC Sports is Rune Arledge. Coverage of the Pro Bowlers Tour is produced by Bob Goodrich. Directed by Jim Jeanette. Technical Director, Bob Bernthal. Associate Director, Bob Dekas. Now this is Chris Schenkel saying so long for Nelson Burton Jr. and inviting you to stay tuned for ABC's World of Sports today, which features a special performance by the Soviet Gymnastics, Olga Korbut, Nellie Kim, and the rest from the University of Notre Dame, the Figure 8 Stock Car Championship, and the World Barrel Jumping Championships from Northbrook, Illinois. That's next over most of these ABC stations. Travel arrangements made through a promotional fee paid by United Airlines. Fly the friendly skies of United where you're the boss.